Hi, I'm Tiffany Quirrell. This is my EDL 851 Module 13 case study on a teacher reacts negatively to personal evaluation. Section 1, the summary of the case study, some background knowledge. Mrs. Stevens, she is a non-tenured teacher. She was giving multiple classroom walkthroughs within a time frame within the school year, as well as 2 classroom observations. After the classroom observation, she had a post-visitation conference with the principal, which in this case is supposed to be me. The principal discussed some areas where he felt she needed some improvement, including her classroom management strategies. A lot of the students were being somewhat disrespectful towards her. A lot of noise was coming from her room prior to the principal entering. Also, there was limited student participation or giving students opportunities to participate or be involved in the actual class lesson plans. Based on this and the teacher's reaction, he chose to go visit her room one more time the next week, and nothing really changed. And therefore, he decided he was going to not renew her contract for the next year, so that would not grant her tenure. After meeting with her again to go over her evaluation, Mrs. Stevens, she got very upset and she threatened to pursue a lawyer. So the facts of the case, this is Ms. Stevens' final year before she will earn tenure, which makes it a lot harder to remove a teacher from a position. In my school district, it's 3 years to earn tenure, as well as 24 post-baccalaureate credits. Something that the teacher did mention, or something that the principal is supposedly knowledgeable of, is that she's very intelligent and that she has an excellent background knowledge to be in the subject area that she's teaching. She was giving multiple walkthroughs, but it did not mention if there was any pre-observation conferences during those, or if she was giving an improvement plan to work on her classroom management strategies, as well as involving her students in the classroom work. After the final classroom observation, it was hostile between the principal and Ms. Stevens. She mentioned that she felt her evaluation was unfair and that she really wasn't given any supervision at all, and that's why some areas were lacking, because she did not have a chance to really improve for her classroom management strategies or her lessons. When the principal did go back to visit her classroom one more time, he didn't really mention to her any areas that or any methods to improve her instruction, and he visited her the next day and kind of expected to see improvement. In a real scenario, I don't think that would be efficient. I don't think you were going to see much of a difference at all from a Friday to a Monday in this case. Continuing on, principal or I did not decide to renew her contract. Her ratings were either proficient or below average. For instance, her professional interests, attitudes, discipline, as well as personality were all below average ratings, but in the same breath, I feel like that doesn't really tell you much at all. And again, she stated that she felt that it was unfair and she was not given supervision, so she was planning to pursue a lawyer. Below here is the teacher evaluation form that was used. Personality, not really sure what that's supposed to measure. Relationship, it is broken down into categories, but again, there's no detail or evidence or documentation that suggests if she really is a below average teacher, an average or above average teacher. There needs to be more documentation, evidence. It needs to be broken down. Specifically at our school, we use Charlotte Danielson's Her Methods of Teaching, which is like 70 plus categories for a teacher to actually be observed and documented on, which is a much more efficient and effective way. So if a teacher does come back and say, I feel like this is unfair, you have evidence and documentation to back, well, this and this proves otherwise. Section 2 is reporting. Um, in this case, again, the teacher evaluation, it was very vague. There's no documentation, no evidence to back that non-renewed contract of Miss Stevens. And due to that, I think that Miss Stevens is being harmed by the principal's non-renewal of contract. And also her comments of her not being supervised properly, I think it has some backing there. It does not suggest that she had any type of improvement plan. It doesn't mention any previous negative classroom observations from previous supervisors, as well as her given the opportunity to improve through an improvement plan or a professional development opportunity. Our school uses a system called PASS, which is personalized, and it's an online system that you work throughout the school year that is focused towards your specific goals as a teacher. I think that the actions overall could be discriminatory based on, we don't know her sexual orientation, her race, her religion, etc. To synthesize this information, I would say Ms. Stevens, the non-tenured teacher, feels her teacher evaluation was unfair and she was not given proper supervision. Therefore, she plans to fight her non-renewed contract. Synthesize the facts of the people in this case are Miss Stevens. Again, she is seeking a lawyer. The principal, he completed multiple walkthroughs and 2 classroom observations. It doesn't say the time frame for either of those. And then the students that Mrs. Stevens teaches as well. Places that are involved in this scenario, it's typically between the principal's office and Mrs. Stevens' class. And the program, we don't know much about it. We don't know the subject area that's being taught. I'm guessing that this is a public school. To review and prioritize the information that we know, this can be damaging not only to the reputation but the credibility of the school district and Mrs. Stevens as a teacher. Relevant stakeholders, the superintendent and school board, but they have not been notified yet according to the scenario. The outcome of this can affect not only the school district, Ms. Stevens, but also Ms. Stevens' current and future students, as well as families of the current students. If Ms. Stevens is a union member, that they'll also be involved in the current evaluation system, which I think that needs approved upon. Some unanswered questions. What professional development and improvement plans were offered to her? We do not know that at this time. Was her observations in past years successful? What were her test scores? What were her Ames web scores? That's a testing online site that we use from 9 weeks to 9 weeks to see the student's improvement. Does she have student artifacts to back that she is an effective teacher? We do not know any of this at this time. Again, what were her past evaluations like? What were her other supervisors' thoughts on Miss Stevens? Is this principal, am I a new principal? Is this a new principal? Have they done a lot of fair evaluations in the past, or is this an ongoing complaint from not just Miss Stevens? And again, is she a union member? Because if she's a union member, she has a whole team that's going to probably back her on this fight to keep her job. And at this time, I do not think there is enough information to make an accurate decision on if her contract should be renewed. Some of the actions with the information given that you could take no action at all. This would lead to potential court proceedings along with media coverage depending on the school district and if she's in the union, I feel. Another option is to rewrite the evaluation to give her proficient scores just to avoid the confrontation. But if she is a lacking teacher, you're going to continue to have an inadequate teacher because she's gaining tenure if you give her that proficient rating. Another choice would be to begin to recreate a new teacher evaluation tool and putting her on probation for the following year. This would involve school board meetings, and also you would probably still have a negative attitude or demeanor Ms. Stevens would have towards you as a principal. Action 4, you could put Ms. Stevens on an improvement plan, give her professional development for the remainder of this school year and next. This could be a positive outcome for Ms. Stevens because she could improve her teaching skills and her instruction. Another choice, action 5, would be to again put Ms. Stevens on an improvement plan and create a new evaluation system. You would need to have school board meetings and approvals. And again, Ms. Stevens may or may not improve her instruction depending on the effectiveness and seriousness that Ms. Stevens takes in her improvement plan. Action 6 would be to continue through with not renewing Ms. Stevens' contract, but to discuss it firsthand with the superintendent. There could still be potential court proceedings along with this, but you would have your school district and your superintendent's backing. Some pros and cons of the different options. To take no action, this is the easiest option for the principal at the moment, but in the long run, you're going to have issues. Your school is likely to have a negative rep if it does go to court. And if so, if you don't discuss it with the superintendent, you might, as a principal, get reprimanded. Option 2 is to create an entirely new evaluation system. This does meet Ms. Stevens' needs because she keeps her job, but it doesn't fix her instruction or fix the current teachers that are still being used with the evaluation system. So is it really fair to change an evaluation system in the middle of year? No, I don't think so. Option 3 would be putting her on probation. This doesn't fix her evaluation currently, but it does give her the opportunity to fix her next one, and it does leave her with tenure. Option 4, the improvement plan option. This ensures that both the principal and Ms. Stevens keep their positions, and it fixes Ms. Stevens' classroom issues, but it doesn't fix the current evaluation system. Option 5 is the second improvement plan option. This option does fix both Ms. Stevens' issues and the teacher evaluation system. It will take some time. It will lead to many meetings, not only with the school board, but with Ms. Stevens, but it does fix both ends of the spectrum. Option 6 is including the superintendent. By the superintendent gaining knowledge of Ms. Stevens' dismissal, Ms. Stevens will lose her job, and you could still get a negative reputation if Ms. Stevens goes public with the information without the documentation that was necessary to back her non-renewal. Section 8 was the best option. I think at this time the best option available for the principal, Ms. Stevens, and the school district, as well as the students, is to create an improvement and professional development plan for Ms. Stevens, while administrators and board members correct flaws in the current teacher evaluation system. To implement this plan, I would begin by having a meeting with the superintendent, set up this meeting, discuss your concerns about Ms. Stevens' classroom instruction and management strategies, as well as to notify the appropriate stakeholders. That would include the school board. Next would be to create the improvement plan for Ms. Stevens. This would include many professional development opportunities. I would use the PATH program that our school currently uses that would focus in on classroom management skills, as well as ways to incorporate students into lessons, giving her those opportunities, as well as like a checklist to make sure she's completing one professional development training every 2 weeks, for example. This would ensure that her improvement plan is ethical and authentic to her needs and her subject area, and make sure all the while this is being documented. Next, I would set up the meeting with Ms. Stevens and the superintendent to discuss the new evaluation plan. And as well, I would apologize for any lack of supervision that I gave as the principal